This is me, struggling to keep our plants alive during the hot, dusty, dry season we endure for 4 months every year. Growing food in these conditions is as difficult and water-hungry as it gets. But this year, we're turning things around, using every trick we've learned, spending nothing extra, and aiming for a thriving harvest right in the middle of the season that dries out everything. By the end of this video, you'll see exactly how we got our garden thriving on just 7 gallons of water a week. And guess what? You can do it too. We've been on a quest to be more self-sufficient, have access to healthier food, and minimize our living expenses. We had a huge accomplishment this past year, scaling up from 3 beds to 13, and grew lots of food free from harmful chemicals. Now the rains are gone. It's dry and hot for 4 months. In earlier seasons, we jumped right in surface irrigating. We used lots of water just for a single bed and had very little to show for it. The only crop that thrived were our grape tomatoes. From experience, we've learned that most fruiting crops just won't produce if they're too water stressed. They need consistent moisture levels to set fruit. But in this dry heat, evaporation is extreme. Even with mulching, you might be watering every day or every other day. With our limited rainwater harvest, we just can't keep up with daily watering while scaling up.
So out here in the middle of the dry season, compounded by the fact that we were meant to have a big harvest in what was meant to be our second rainy season, I had no choice but to pick up myself and create up a solution. But before we get into what we tried though, we would love to hear your comments. If there's any water efficient techniques that you know of, maybe there's something we haven't considered yet and it could shape what we try next. All right, let's go.
Drip irrigation, which is often the go-to recommendation everywhere, isn't something we can afford right now. So I had to get creative. That's when the idea hit. Why not bury old water bottles? I searched online to see if anyone had tried it. My plan was simple: poke holes right under the bottle and bury it. But as I dug deeper, I found varying suggestions, but no real explanation for why these things worked. But here's the catch. If you don't set them up properly, they either drain too quickly or don't release any water at all. I had to figure out what makes the system actually work. So here's what I've come up with. A plastic bottle serves as a simple, low-cost water reservoir buried a few inches into the soil. A small pin-sized hole near the bottom allows water to seep steadily into the root zone. When the soil is dry, water flows out of the bottle, partially replaced by air bubbling up. This incomplete replacement leaves a vacuum, creating gentle suction. When the soil is wet, less water flows out, and the suction holds the remaining water in the bottle. If the cap is too loose or removed, air quickly replaces the water flowing out, preventing the vacuum and suction effect, so the bottle drains too fast. Our goal is to release just enough water to keep plants growing, while minimizing waste from evaporation.
A really simple and elegant solution, isn't it? Or so I thought. But my first prototype had me second-guessing the whole thing. But stick with me, because just when I thought the whole idea was doomed, a small shift led to an unexpected breakthrough. But before I get into how things unfolded, if you're enjoying the video so far, finding it helpful, please leave us a like. It really helps us to keep sharing what we're learning.
I set up a bottle in one of my usual tomato beds. I was looking forward to this easy, hands-off watering system. But by the next day, it was empty. Just one day. The soil was still a bit moist, but this was nowhere near efficient. Filling bottles every day? No, that was not going to work. This solution was falling apart. But then I tried a similar setup in another bed, this time under the partial shade of a palm tree. 3 days later, and there was still water left. 3 times longer, just from a little shade. That was a breakthrough. Now, if I wanted to make this work across the whole garden, I needed a way to tame the heat and slow down evaporation, all without blocking too much light. But how? I had a few ideas. Using shade nets. We're not talking about dark, heavy shade, just enough to lower the intensity of the midday sun. We have some of these shade nets on hand, so I put them up, but even a thin, light-colored cloth or doubled-up mosquito netting can do the job. It takes the edge off the heat, shielding both the plants and the soil. Less moisture lost from the leaves, less water evaporating from the ground, and you can feel the difference right away. Step under the net and the drop in heat is instant. With that sorted, the next step was working on the soil itself. While burying water bottles definitely helps with irrigation, a key factor in maintaining a healthy, water-efficient garden is building up the soil itself. Rather than removing the weeds, I chopped them straight into the bed. This may seem odd, but it's all about giving back those nutrients they've been collecting from deep in the soil. By chopping them down and letting them break down where they are, I'm returning those nutrients to the earth, enriching the soil. Bananas are another great resource I use. We grow a tall, fast-growing variety, so there's always some biomass to harvest. I use this layer to first lock in moisture and slow down evaporation. Secondly, to feed the soil. I think of it like a forest floor covered with leaves, supporting the web of organisms that keep plants thriving. With that same reasoning, I top up with dry leaves from our Indian mass trees which grow on the borders of our land and drop their leaves every dry season. As they break down, they also contribute valuable nutrients to the soil. It's a simple, sustainable cycle. Everything we use to mulch and feed the soil comes from the property itself, minimizing our dependence on outside resources while building a healthy garden ecosystem. Using plastic bottles isn't my ideal solution, but it's what I have, and for now it works. Long term, I'd love to explore even better sustainable solutions like earthworks. But in the meantime, we need to eat while we learn. I went with 1.5 liter bottles. More water, less refilling. If you try this, get sturdy bottles. Flimsy ones will collapse under suction. I learned that the hard way. Oh boy, what was I thinking? Dry season soil is like concrete. I grabbed a chisel, a chisel. But just when I thought I'd be chiseling for days, a rare dry season rain came through. Just enough to soften the ground. Perfect timing. I took the chance and got back to work. I positioned the holes to face where the seedlings would go, making sure the water would reach them directly. Not too deep, or young roots might struggle to find moisture. Not too shallow, or the system won't be efficient enough. 3 to 4 inches felt like the sweet spot, with the mulch layer adding extra cover. Finally, I pressed the soil firmly around each bottle, eliminating air gaps to ensure proper moisture transfer. And just like that, the setup was ready. Time to plant. At this point, my seedlings had been sitting in trays for over 7 weeks, way longer than I originally planned. We almost gave up on them at one point, unsure how to support them through the dry season. But now, they are finally going into the ground, and I am really excited. I buried the tomatoes a little deeper since they can handle it, hoping they'll tap into that deeper moisture. As for the peppers, they will share a bottle, each plant placed just a few inches from it. This ensures they get water right away while leaving enough room to grow. After just a week, the plants looked significantly healthier than their siblings still in the trays. We're off to a great start. But how much water are we actually saving? I did the math, and the results shocked me. In the past, I watered a single 8x4 bed with 20 gallons of water a week. With the new setup, it only takes 7 gallons a week for the very same bed. I can now water 3 beds for the old price of 1. That's a whopping 65% efficiency in water use. With less water stress, my plants should thrive and hopefully produce more food. After our early victory, a little hiccup had me scratching my head. A couple of peppers mysteriously disappeared. Putting on my detective cap and heading out at night, I discovered the culprits. Slugs. The bane of every gardener's existence. There's no shortage of slug control methods online, but I found the most effective one for me is hunting them down directly. With some backup seedlings ready and toads moving in, I'm hopeful that nature will find a way to balance things out. 4 weeks in, and the results speak for themselves. The tomatoes are tall, vibrant, and thriving. And those slug-damaged peppers, they've made an impressive comeback. That water efficiency we aimed for, I think we nailed it. Less water, less effort, and healthier plants. This simple system is proving to be a game changer for growing food through the dry season. Of course, this is still an ongoing experiment, and there's always more to learn, but one thing's clear, this is the most efficient system we've used so far. Would you try this in your garden? Or do you have an even better method we should test? Let us know in the comments.
Hey, you didn't forget about me, did you? Because I've been here the whole time watching the video with you. And if you liked it and you want to get updated on how our plants are doing, then you need to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss when we post. I'm sure you've noticed that Tom and I take our time to upload our videos. It's because we're basically our own village when it comes to doing everything, including production. And not just that, we also want to take our time so that we can produce quality videos for you. So it's the best sustainable way for us. But if you want to keep up with what we're doing, you can always leave a comment. We love responding to your comments, and you can also keep up with us by watching our shorts. We upload them more frequently, and it just gives you a little insight to what we're up to, a little behind the scenes, and it's quite fun. So yeah, go check out our shorts and keep up with us. Have a great week ahead, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.